Hello and welcome to On Spec, the podcast that does slow journalism, the kind that takes time, telling stories that make you think, feel, and act to do good beyond your own borders. My name is Nafisa Haji, and I'm your guest host for this season, Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad. In our last episode, Officials, Fariba Nawa spent a lot of time with them, with the U.S. Special Envoy to Iran, with a UN official, with a Turkish parliamentarian, all in the hopes of getting answers about how Iran is targeting its dissidents abroad and what the world is doing about it. Join me as we tune in for this final episode of the season with Fariba Nawa, who has some shocking news about the suicide note left behind by poet Mohammad Shabani, whose mysterious death has haunted this series on Lethal Dissent, Iran's Hunt for its Citizens Abroad, Episode 9, The Note.
سلام چطوری؟ خوبی؟
سلامتی
I told Mehdi Hajati we're getting his best friend's suicide note analyzed. Mohammed and Mehdi were civil servants in Shiraz, Iran. They were imprisoned for their dissent, released, then fled to Turkey. In Turkey, Mohammed continued to speak out against the Iranian government until he died.
But most of the blood was in the bathroom.
I investigated Mohammed's death, and the evidence suggested he killed himself. A suicide note left no doubt. But was it written by Mohammed? Now I know the answer. This is Lethal Dissent. Today, how one piece of information changes the lives of the people left behind.
Onlar benim kadar dikkat etmemiştir.
Memories have new relevance.
Yes, because he was the writer.
And some things can't be undone.
But it was not my choice. I was in the middle of war as a soldier.
Episode 9, The Note. Mehdi Hajati and his wife Zora are squeezed together on a couch in their new apartment in the United States. I've called them to tell them about the handwriting analysis. It took months. Mehdi's phone is on speaker in his hand.
Okay, Mr. Hajati, you know that I've been researching this story for almost a year. In fact, you were the first person that I saw when I started thinking about doing this story. And it started with Mohammad Shabani, who was one of your best friends.
Yes.
And we've come across some new information.
The police didn't analyze the suicide letter because they said they didn't have an expert on the Arabic alphabet. That's what Farsi uses. I got a digital copy of the suicide note to show the analyst. Mehdi helped us gather more of Mohammed's handwriting to compare to the note.
And you sent me one of the letters.
And his family sent me the other letters. So we've had almost 6 letters, including the suicide note that was left. And we went to a British Persian-speaking handwriting analyst who has no bias. They don't know anything about this story. And they are certified by the police and the British courts. I sit at my table in Istanbul on the other end of the phone. The analyst's 23-page analysis is on my computer. He's prepared at least 1,289 expert reports for law firms and state institutions from places like France, Holland, Sweden, the United Kingdom, and the United States. He's analyzed Farsi handwriting in high-stakes immigration cases that could decide asylum or deportation. The British court system has called upon him to help in murder cases. I take a breath and share the results. The suicide note does not belong to Mohammad Shabani. He did not write the suicide note, according to the handwriting analyst. Do you understand?
Yes.
Fariba, do you mean that it's not suicide and the handwriting that they found is not his handwriting? Am I get it correctly?
Yeah, that is according to this handwriting analyst that we are working with. The suicide note does not belong to him.
But I was thinking about this. I thought it's simple to me to hear this, but after 1 year, 1.5 years, is still difficult to me to hear about Mohammed. I was sure about Mohammed. It was not suicide, because all our people last year, we were full of hope.
In 2022, when Mohammed died, the Women Life Freedom protest was sweeping across Iran. Women were burning their headscarves in the streets. Some people thought it was the beginning of a revolution that would topple the Iranian regime. Mehdi insists Mohammed would not have killed himself at a moment of peak hope.
Never somebody decide in hopeful situation to suicide.
There are other facts worth further consideration. The police file shows they recovered a laptop case from the scene, but no laptop.
Do you know if Mohammed had a laptop that he wrote on?
Yes,
Did-
yes, because he was a writer.
Yeah. So the laptop is missing.
Really?
The police did not mention it in their evidence file. There's nothing about a laptop in his folder.
The police also examined Mohammed's phone. Their report about the phone only says it had no information relating to a suicide. I need to tell Mohammed's former landlord the news about the note. He was there with the police when they entered Mohammed's apartment. I tell him the handwriting analysis says the suicide note was not written by Mohammed.
Hadi canım. Ciddi misin? Uyuşmuyor yani.
He says, "Come on, are you serious? It doesn't match? Someone else wrote the note? How does that happen?"
Nasıl oluyor ya? Yani korktum.
Right now, I'm really shocked and scared. I'm openly saying I'm scared. I'm really scared. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Yani bir şey diyemem.
Ali Kamal snaps his lighter to start a cigarette. He smokes, puts a hand to his face.
Ama şimdi bunun bu kadar şüpheli bir durum olduğunu bilseydim.
He says, but now, if I had known that this was such a suspicious situation, I would have checked the CCTV footage the day before, 2 days before.
Emin ol bakardım.
After Mohammed fell, Ali Kamal reviewed 5 hours of the CCTV camera footage of the front entrance of the building, looking for anyone suspicious going in or out. The problem is, any of the footage from the days or weeks before is lost now. The camera overwrites its own footage at the beginning of the month. Ali Kamal rues the loss.
Hiç üşenmeden bakardım onlara, oturur bakardım. Yani işim buraya geleceğini bilmiş olsaydım.
I'd even take the ones from a week ago and look at them. I'd swear I'd look at them. I'd swear I'd look at them without even bothering. I'd sit and look at them, he says. Ali Kamal didn't think to save the CCTV footage.
Aslında bunu biz değil de bunu polisin istemesi gerekiyordu bizden. Yani mantık onu götürüyor. Biz değil.
He says, actually, the police should have asked us to do this. It should not be our idea. In other words, logic leads them to do it, not us. After all, we're civilians.
Şu an yok o kayıtlar.
I tell Ali Kamal the police took fingerprints from the suicide note, but didn't analyze them. He says he didn't see the police take fingerprints elsewhere in the apartment. He says there were some fingerprint opportunities they didn't even consider.
Sen çilingir bile kapıyı açarken...
Just think, even the locksmith opened the door with his bare hands and went in.
Ne eldiven taktı ne bir şey yaptı herifler.
It's so ridiculous. He didn't wear gloves or do anything. He's saying the locksmith's ungloved hand would have contaminated any fingerprint evidence. I tell Ali Kamal there's something else missing from the police case file: DNA tests. The police claimed there was not enough blood at the scene for a sufficient sample. They could only determine the blood they collected belonged to a man.
Burası kan gölüydü ya. Şaka mı yapıyormuş onlar? Dalga mı geçiyorlar?
He says, this place was a lake of blood. Were they joking? Are they messing with us?
Abicim polis gram...
The police didn't pay any attention. I swear they didn't pay as much attention as I
Onlar benim kadar
did.
dikkat etmemiştir. Bak yemin ediyorum onlar benim kadar dikkat etmemiştir ya.
The police didn't pay any attention, Ali Kamal says. When we started our conversation, Ali Kamal thought the police were maybe a little haphazard, but easily got the case right. With the new information I've presented, Ali Kamal now thinks the police investigation was botched. I visited the police station near Mohammad's apartment to talk with the detectives. One of the officers on Mohammad's case raised his voice at me and told me to take my questions to the prosecutor. Prosecutors don't talk to the press. So we asked Turkey's Ministry of Justice about Mohammad's case and for comment on our findings. No one replied. Mohammad Shabani died in 2022. Many of his friends and supporters suspected Iran was behind it. Then I found evidence it might be a suicide. When I attended the court case that exposed an Iranian kidnapping ring, many of the events the trial documented occurred back in 2019. At the beginning of this series, I said this world of espionage and operations against dissidents is murky. It's hard to know what's happening in this world on a day-to-day basis, especially in Turkey. So I find someone who does know.
الان خوبه صدا؟
آقا مرتضی هستین؟
بله دارم میشنم صداتون.
Morteza Hatami translates for Turkish lawyers who work with Iranian dissidents when they've been threatened or worse. I ask him what he's seen in his work recently.
بله متاسفانه این اتفاق همینجور که هممون اطلاع داریم قدرت و دست ایران توی ترکیه خیلی قوی هست.
Hatami says he deals with at least 2 or 3 new cases a month. These are cases where dissidents are threatened by suspected agents of Iran. And just last month, Hatami documented yet another case of a dissident who was nearly kidnapped.
اما خب موفق نشدن و در لحظه آخرشون خودشون نجات داد. ببینید ایشون توی از منزل که داشته خارج می‌شده.
The victim was a religious cleric, one of the mullahs who's part of the theocratic foundation of the Iranian government. He fled to Turkey. One day he was walking to a corner store when a car pulled up. Several men jumped out and grabbed him. The men beat him, and he screamed for help and managed to escape. Then the cleric posted images of his injuries on social media.
اونها دیگه می‌بینن که مردم دارن جمع میشن سریعا اونجا رو ترک میکنن. خیلی بیشتره، حجم اینها خیلی بیشتره. من حتی میگم که نمیتونم اسم بیاریم.
Hatami says lots of incidents like this go unreported. That's because the Iranian government holds dissidents' families hostage back home. As a result, dissidents who are abroad often stay silent when the government threatens them.
فلان بلا رو سر فلان شخصی که توی ایران دارید، مثلا یکی از بچه‌ها با مادر بزرگش تهدید کرده بودن. ببینید مثلا اینا تا اینقدر کنترل دارن.
Dissidents also don't trust the Turkish government. They've told Hatami that Iran plants spies in Turkey's immigration department.
میدونن که من پناهنده‌ای که الان مشکل دارم با جمهوری اسلامی تو کدوم شهر دارم زندگی میکنم.
Turkey provides police protection to dissidents on rare occasions, and it's getting even more rare. According to Hatami, the Turkish authorities are turning to a different approach.
قانون و قرار صادر کردن و ایشون رو به کمپ فرستادن.
Hatami says he translated for an Iranian military dissident who faced serious threats. He says Turkey couldn't protect him on the streets, so they sent him to a detention center for migrants.
این آقا نظامی هست و نمونه ایشون چند تا دیگه ما داریم توی ترکیه.
I talked to dissidents who were sent to these detention centers. They said they're like prisons. Conditions are bad enough that some people prefer to be deported back to Iran. They figure if they're going to be in prison, they might as well serve a sentence in their home country.
نه راهی دارن برای برگشت، نه حداقل هایی رو برای زندگی در ترکیه.
Hatami is taking a risk speaking on the record with me. The lawyers he works for can get in trouble for talking publicly about all this.
خوشحال شدم صحبت کرد.
من هم خوشحال شدم. از دوست عزیزمون خداحافظی میکنم. خدا نگهدار.
خدا نگهدار. بای بای.
My conversation with Hatami shows dissidents are getting threatened all the time, to this day. It's hard to get official numbers for how many kidnappings or assassinations have been attempted on Turkish soil, or how many they've prevented. The same is true abroad. Not long ago, UK terror officials offered a glimpse at the numbers. They said in 2023, they detected 15 Iranian plots to either kidnap or assassinate dissidents. And that's information from just one country among the dozens that Iranian dissidents flee to. I want to hear what Iran has to say about everything I've found. I asked their foreign ministry for an interview. They put me in touch with an Iranian embassy official stationed in Turkey. I dial his number.
Here we go.
راه مشترک مورد نظر خاموش می باشد. The mobile set is off.
No luck. I find him on the messaging app Telegram. The app reports he's been active recently. I try calling. No answer. I circle back to Iran's foreign ministry and ask for someone to talk with. They tell me no one is willing to do an interview with me. So we send questions and a list of the assertions from sources in this series about Iran to the embassy official stationed in Turkey. Telegram shows he read it. He didn't reply. One of the questions I asked was simple. Was Iran involved in Mohammad Shabani's death? The government didn't have an answer, but Mehdi did.
I know the method of Islamic Republic. Sometimes Islamic Republic could not kill the famous person. Sometimes decide to kill a person that the famous person know him. It's a method for warning that people, you are not safe, you are not secure. I think the reason of killing Muhammad by Islamic Republic was warning others in Turkey, because there was so many activists in Turkey in that time when all the protesters were in the streets. The Islamic Republic last year was in its weakness situation.
Mehdi says when the Iranian government feels threatened and shows weakness, they lash out strategically.
When Islamic Republic is in a weakness situation, decide to warn with unfamous person, because there is no cost for Islamic Republic.
There's no consequences.
Yeah.
There are no consequences.
No
Because
consequences.
then, yeah.
I ask Mehdi, but what if it's true that Muhammad killed himself? What does that mean? He's reluctant to engage with the premise of the question, but his wife Zora, who's sitting with Mehdi, does have an answer.
I think
Sure.
even Muhammad suicided or not, or they killed him, I think in both situations that the Islamic Republic is the guilty one.
She's saying if Muhammad did kill himself, it's because the Iranian government drove him to that point. I'm thinking about the time period right before Muhammad died. Both Muhammad and Mehdi were in Turkey. Muhammad was threatened regularly, and so was Mehdi. The two didn't see each other. It was too unsafe. Mehdi was also consumed with his online advocacy for the protests back in Iran. They lost touch. I wonder if Muhammad really needed their friendship at that time. We talked about that period of time that you and Muhammad were not in touch, right? You got busy. You got busy when he was asking things, when he was trying to keep in touch. Do you feel like you ever neglected him?
I was and I am in the middle of a war with Islamic Republic, because they are fighting my people all the time. But it was not my choice. I was in the middle of war as a soldier. I didn't do my responsibility about Muhammad, about my son, my daughter, my wife, because I was in the middle of war with Islamic Republic. When you are in the middle of a war, you cannot do your responsibility or your family. You cannot come back from the front to back to take care of your family or your friends.
For Mehdi, this war and toppling the Iranian regime is not a choice. It's a calling. Now he's confronting the consequences of that war and its damage to his life and the people in it. Mehdi is convinced the Iranian government killed Muhammad. If, like he says, the government targets dissidents who aren't famous in order to send a message, there's a question I can't get around.
If Muhammad was assassinated by Iran, do you think their message was meant for you?
Most of the time, I'm thinking about this. And if they kill Muhammad to warn me, I feel guilty. You know, this is hard to me.
Yeah.
To feel guilty about Mohammad's death.
If we knew the exact details of Mohammad's death, maybe those details, depending on what they were, would let Mehdi release some of the guilt he feels. Like if it was possible to know that Mohammad's death had nothing to do with Mehdi, a kind of exculpatory evidence for his own conscience. That's the problem with not knowing what happened.
We may never know. We may never know the truth. This is another thing that I wanted to tell you about. I mean, you think that the regime killed Mohammed, right? But in terms of the evidence, it's ambiguous.
I switched to Farsi to make sure I'm clear.
Yeah, I know.
You understand?
Mohammed was a dissident. He wrote poems. His literary circle in Shiraz was hounded by the regime. He worked in public relations for Mehdi. He made posters that broached taboo subjects like one that raised awareness about child abuse. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps tore it down. Mohammed chose to be true to himself and his beliefs. Maybe Mohammed and Mehdi's collision course with the Iranian government was inevitable, but Mehdi carries the guilt of having survived that collision when his best friend didn't. When Mehdi sleeps, a clock is the only sound in his room. His new bedroom is in an apartment in a suburb on the east coast of the United States. His wife and kids sleep soundly here, even if he doesn't.
After my first arrest, I have no good sleep. After 1 or 2 hours, I wake up and I couldn't sleep.
When he wakes up in the night, he checks his phone.
Maybe some people from inside of Iran needs my help.
Like if someone has been arrested by Iranian intelligence, he tries to get that person's social media accounts suspended. That helps prevent the intelligence service from getting a hold of any sensitive conversations in their direct messages. Mehdi tries to be available to help, no matter how late at night.
I'm always on call because I'm worried to be late about saving someone.
It's hard for Mehdi to really be on call all the time now. He's an apprentice electrician. He works all day in the hot sun, hauling high-voltage cables around. His job before that was at a restaurant, which was even busier. He doesn't have time to be an activist against the Iranian government like he used to. When he came to the U.S., he and his wife Zora had to rebuild their life cent by cent. His family is his priority. He works, goes to his kids' musical recitals, comes home, they eat. Then eventually he'll head to his room for bed. He'll turn off the light, lay his head on his pillow, and sleep, but probably not for more than a couple of hours. When he wakes up in the night, he'll reach for his phone, and he'll check for messages from Iran. He doesn't want to be too late to save someone a second time.
I'm Nafisa Haji. Lethal Dissent is reported by Fariba Nawa, reporting in Turkey by Beril Eski. The series is produced by Chris Harlan Dunaway. Our editor is Ibi Caputo. Additional research by Omar Farouk, fact-checking by Beril Eski and John Klopotowski. Özge Sebsici is our photographer and multimedia producer. Artwork for the podcast is by Hatice Garib. Musical score and sound design by Uzair Ahmed. Legal review by Eric Brass. This story wouldn't be possible without support from the Pulitzer Center and Radio Zamaneh. Thank you to our partners, The Verge and PRX. Special thanks to executive producer for The World, Dan Lothian, and managing editor for The World, Tinku Ray, our friend ER, Shahnam Gulshani, Adnan Devrim, Hamish Brown, Kate Ellis, Stephen Smith, Levi Bridges, Banu Azizian, Adisha Azizian, Yithan Ujair, Rishad and Alan at Splice Media, and to the Iranians who helped us whose full names we can't use for security reasons. Thank you, HM, AM, and MB. We are back where we started, with two friends, one of them dead, the other feeling responsible, living a new life further out of reach of the Iranian regime, but still shadowed by the fear of what Iran's deadly messages mean. How far from its borders do Iranian dissidents have to be safe? How far, and how long before they actually are? And what is it like to try to move on as the situation in Iran continues to unfold? Will there come a day when the dissidents we've gotten to know will be able to safely return? We will be inviting you back to listen to Q&As with those who know Iran better than us, the dissidents, the experts, the officials. We've given you riveting stories of their struggles. Now you can hear how these stories were made. Please write with any questions you might have at onspecpodcast@gmail.com. Keep listening, and don't forget we need you as a Patreon subscriber. Go to onspecpodcast.com and become a member to help support our next season. Also, please follow us and let us know what you think on Twitter at OnSpecStories, on Instagram at OnSpecPodcast, and on Facebook at OnSpecPodcast. If you have the time, please do rate or review On Spec on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to your podcasts.